Welcome back. So we are going to finish what we started. We are now going to set up a table called beers. And so let's go ahead and get started. So we'll build our table out. I'll make this a little bit bigger. I'll call this ID. We'll make this an integer. We know this is going to be a primary key and not null. The next value that we'll have is called the brewery ID, which will represent a way to consolidate the tables together. We will do an int. I say consolidate, talk to each other. That will be a not null. The next thing we'll have is a cat.id. So this is our category ID that represents our categories in our other table. And this can't be null. The other table that we'll have is our style ID. This represents the different styles of the beer. And this can't be null either. So it allows us to have multiple connections. We'll have ABV, so this is the, put it in here, 92. This is alcohol consumption, how much is alcohol is in there. So it's a decimal, so we will say this can't be null either. We will have the IBU, and this IBU will be an integer, not null. We will have the UPC, integer, not null. And lastly, we'll have a description. And this description, we're going to make it a varchar 1000. And it can't, well, it can't be null. So I don't care about that. So that is our bars table. So I'll save it, or our beers table. All right, perfect. So we have that there. The next table that we're going to create that we don't have yet is we're going to do our breweries table, and that's going to be a bigger table. So let's get and create it. So add new table, and it's called breweries. And once again, we're going to have an ID, which represents the primary key and not null. We're going to have another table called the name, which is going to be the name of the brewery. We'll make it 50. We'll say it can't be null. We will have the address one. And I'll come back and fix these in a minute here. So it'll be easier for me to just kind of stroll into this. So we'll have address 2. We'll have city. We'll have state. We'll have phone number. We will have a website, and we'll have a description. So we can probably work our way to the top. So these two could be null, but we want to allow more space. So in this we could put 100 at least, and this we could probably put 1,000 just to play it safe. Phone number. Well, typically a traditional phone number for us is, we have a prefix of an area code, prefix, and then a 4 digits. So we're usually at, locked in at 10, and then some other extra characters. But we could also have other countries, and their number is a lot different than ours. So we're just going to make this a varchar 45, keep it the same. Can it be null? Yeah, in this case, it could be null. State, we don't want to have it null. So, you know what? I think I forgot one. So I said state, I didn't put country or code. So we need to put that in there as well after state. So we'll move things around. So let's do this. We need to have a code. And this code is probably going to be an integer number. And it could be null. And we're going to have a country. And the country, we'll just make it a varchar 50. Play it safe. So what we want to do is kind of move these guys up the ladder. So we want to have code after state. So move up and move it up again and move it up again. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing with country. Perfect. I think. state, code, country, phone. Yep, perfect. Um, Based off the data that I have here, I think I need to leave some of these null because they all don't have values to them. As far as country concerned, I think we have data for all of these. So I'm gonna say that this can't be null. The rest of this can be null for now. If I was building this out for based off the data, I'd have to go through and manipulate the data and make it required. Typically a varchar, a state, I would make it a char too, but they have the data I'm looking at, and this is not my data, this is data I grabbed from the internet. I used Kaggle, and they have this state spelled out only because some of them are different countries, I think. So that's the reason why. So we will just make this a varchar. Let's make it a 50. Varchar city, I'll make a 50. I am not gonna. I think these should be not null and state because they need to have something in there. I'll make this a varchar 50, and I don't care if it's not null because there's not always a second address. But I would say this is required. All right, so we have an ID, we have name, address, 1, 2, city, state, code, country, phone, website, description. Cool. So let's save that. And that's our breweries table. And lastly, we might as well do our other table, which is a location of our breweries. So this would be location, and within location we have an ID, primary key not nullable, fine. We will have a brewery ID, which is going to have to be not null. It's going to be a relationship for us, and we're going to have a latitude. In this one, I'm going to make it a decimal. You know what? Let's start and see if it allows us to do that. If we have to change it, we'll change it. Let's see if there's all the data is pretty much there. And then we're going to have longitude. Perfect. And this has negative, so I'm wondering if it'll pick it up. You know what? I'm just gonna make it a varchar. 25. It shouldn't be that much. You know what? To play it safe, I'm gonna make this a varchar too. Oops. Just because of the way it's set up. And lastly, we're gonna have an accuracy, which is like location, is basically is the longitude, latitude, approximate, where it's like in the vicinity. Okay, and we can make that a varchar 50 as well. Perfect. And I don't care if that's null. And yep, save it. Cool. So let's pull our diagram back up, and what we'll do is pull our things out here and just make our relationships, location and breweries. Perfect. So now what we need to do is build our relationships out. Now we've already built a relationship, how these two tables are going to talk to each other. It's important for us to identify how these tables are going to talk, and based off of the variable or the data types, we can identify what is going to talk to each other. So for example, we know location and beers are going to talk based off of brew ID, so we could build a relationship with them. So we could probably do either or. So let's say, well, we want to figure out which one is going to be the primary table first. Is it going to be location, or is it going to be beers? And I'm thinking it's going to be this, because this will be the secondary. This data needs to be added first. But you also notice it has a category ID and a cell ID, so we have to build a relationship with these here. But these would be the parent, this would be the parent, this would be the child, and this would be a child. So when you're adding your data, you have to add it accordingly, category, styles, and beers, because if you have a reference of an ID that doesn't exist in something, it will not allow you, that's called referential integrity, and it will cause some problems. But we'll start off with location first and go from there. Now, based off of this, breweries we don't have, this might be a problem here. We might have to add another value here because we don't have a representation of how brewery is going to connect to the beers. And that might be something that you could try to figure out. But anyhow, so let's go ahead and edit this, and we'll say edit beers. And what we're going to do is like we did in class, we're going to build a foreign key relationship. We're going to say FK brewery ID, because that's what we want to do. We want to reference the location table, and we want to reference the brewery ID. That's the relationship that we want to build off of this. I don't know if I like that. Because it's going to build it from here to there, and that's not what we want. So let's try something different. Let's delete that relationship. Yeah. Let's edit location. Let's do foreign key location. And beers and brewery ID. I think that's what we want. Yeah. Oh, why is that doing that? What am I missing? So we're referencing that table, we're referencing the beers table, we're referencing the brewery ID. Okay. Oops. Maybe we have to build another relationship. Huh. I don't like that. Should be a one-on-one relationship. See, it's trying to, and I don't like that. Delete that. See, we want this to be a relationship between the two, and it's actually really funny. I'm not sure why. I'll rename this in a second, but this, if I reference beers, it's just going to be on the same one. You don't want to do that. You want to reference the location, and we should be able to put, not location. Shoot, did I miss something? I think something popped out of there. Our ID for brewery ID is gone. The heck? Yeah, it disappeared. That is so weird. I'm not sure what happened. Did I delete it? Alright, can't be no. Let's move it up. Alright. It's back in there. I'm not sure what happened. Edit relationship. So let's delete this relationship real quick. Yeah, delete it. Alright, so let's try it again. Edit bears. Foreign key. Say, okay, that's fine. reference the location table. See, it should, and this is what I don't like. It's not showing brewery ID on it. What is happening? It's showing me a different, it's showing me this information here. Well, this information is gone too. Beers doesn't have that in there anymore. What the hell is happening? The brewer ID is gone there, so I must have deleted it somehow. I do this. I don't know what's happening. Alright, usually this is a lot easier than I'm showing you in this demo here, but for some reason my stuff is disappearing. Could be that it's been a while since I did this, but geez, come on. Hold up. Alright, there we go. Let's try this shit again. Sorry. Alright, reference our table to location, brewery ID. Boom. Alright. Takes a while sometimes. Alright, save that. We got our relationship based off ID. Alright, so now we have breweries. We don't have a relationship here. We would need to put a brewery ID in here and add data here. But for now, I'm going to leave that outside. This would need to have a relationship with categories as well. So let's edit this again and build another key. So you could say FK brewery ID and maybe what table it's linking to, which would be categories. So maybe I want to say FK cat brewery ID, and then here I would put categories and put the brewery ID. I also want to build a relationship with styles based off of style ID. So what I would say here, I'd say FK styles, and then I'd say style ID. And then what I do here is I choose styles, and then I choose a style ID. And as you see here, we have some type of relationship where we're building off of these different tables. And as you see here, breweries is kind of outside of the mix because it doesn't have a relationship with the other tables. And you know, honestly, it should have a relationship. Because you're not going to be able to link the tables appropriately. But what we can do is we can link the ID to the brewery ID, and that should represent the same relationship. So, let's do this. Say foreign key, beers, breweries, and we could say ID. And then what we could do here is we could do breweries and link on the brewery ID. Actually, let's link this one. Let's delete this one here. Let's go here in breweries and edit breweries. Set up a key here and say foreign key ID, and then we could say what table we reference. We're referencing the beers table, and we're doing the ID table. That is not what we want. Okay, you know what, we have to do the other one. So we have to do it for the beers table, or it won't work. So I had it right the first time, FK, and we'll just say brew ID, and we'll represent the breweries, and we'll do the brew ID. All right, so we have something built out here. All right, so here is our environment. I'm going to save it. Oh, no, I'm gonna save it. I'll do that. All right, so now I'm gonna go back on my local connection. Well, I need to reverse. I need to engineer this. It should in effect the stuff that's already out there. I don't think so. It might, but we'll find out. Continue, close. All right. So it should just refresh. All right, so now we have all these different tables. Like I says, I don't think it affects it. It doesn't, everything's there. Perfect. So we talked about yesterday adding data to the staging table before adding it to the brewery table. How we do that is by adding a where's the query that we used? This table right here. So we could create a mirror of that table and back it up. But for time consumption, I'm just going to put the data directly into the tables because that exercise yesterday was to show you, situations that could happen. But for time consumption, I'm just going to not repeat that and just put in the data. So we'll see if it works. So how we do that is we do an import wizard. We choose the values of our table. So this would be our beer table. We're going to hit next and use our existing table. Sure. All right, so there was an error message. Why did I like it? My brewery list beers. Did I choose the wrong table? Maybe. Nope. Well, let's see. Let me close out these sheets because I have them open, so that might be it. Alright, so that's it. Next. Alright, unhandle this out of range. Check the log for details. So what I'm going to do is create a new list. And we're going to see if we could see what our problem is. Alright, so there's some, this is a MySQL issue now. So I think it's a MySQL issue. So let's choose breweries. That might just be that table. We'll have to check that out in a minute here. Alright, importing the data. There's some error messages happening, I see. 724. That was the breweries, I believe. And I think there were some error messages that happened. And let me open up that table. And this is one of those verifications that you want to make sure that you're inserting the right amount of data. So when I do that, and I do this, and if you look at the count, it's 1414. So there were some problems that happened. And this is what I would suppose happened. I would suppose some of these values that were not supposed to be null caused the problem. So this is what we're going to do to correct this to make sure the data gets in. I'm going to audit that. I'm going to allow everything to be not null, just to play it safe. I have to leave that the same. So let's save that. Save it. Sure. Alright, so now that's saved. And now what we're going to do is we're going to truncate this table. Remember how we said truncate table. Breweries. We'll run this script. Okay. So since I have all these relationships, I have a relationships on the brewery table. So if I come in here and And this is why. Let me show you why. So if we do alter and we look at our foreign key relationships, well, we have a foreign key with beers, so we had to delete the relationship between beers and whatever, and we don't want to do that. So what we could do is we could delete from breweries. No, it might not like it because we have to specify. Okay, it did. So we did a delete and it did the same thing, so that's fine. So now what we're going to do is see if we could insert the data back into breweries since we did our change. Next. Alright, so there is some error messages still. 724 still. Alright, so we are going to cancel. And it shouldn't have did anything. It did. So there's definitely some interesting things here. So well, I'm going to try something different here. We'll leave it there for now. We're going to do an import wizard on breweries again. We're going to create a new table. Now this new table will be different, and it should import everything. It should. Alright, so we hit next, finish. As you see, there was 1414. So let's refresh. Alright, so if I do a count here, just a refresher, select count everything from breweries, and that we'll do the same thing, copy that, and we'll do staging. There we go. Now if we run this, we get 1414. We run this, we get 724. So we know something's wrong. We're going to try to link the two tables up to see what's different. Okay. And we should be able to do a join to figure this out. So I'm going to say select ID, name, address 1, address 2, city, state, the whole 9 yards, code, country, phone, website, description, from breweries, and then we're going to do join. We're actually going to do a left join. This is something we'll learn next week. Left join on breweries, staging, B on A dot ID equals B dot ID. And this should give us a list. Now let's put it this way. If we did this one right here, we should get the 700 and some matches. So if we did this right here, call ID and fill list is ambiguous. Why is it not like that? Hold on. Alright, it pulls the data that way. So it doesn't like that, so I'm going to have to represent that as A dot. Same thing here. So I have to put a common name, what it means, or it will not like it. So now if we just do a join, it should pull the data up because we had a reference where it was coming from. Alright, so let's see how many records we have. Probably 720. Well, it's given us a lot more. Well, it's given us odd numbers, so, but if you see it here, there's actually, you see how they're skipping. 11, so 12, 13, 14, 15 is not showing, 17 through 23 is not showing. So there's some type of problem. So how we identify that is we do something called a left join. And this should give us our problems. So we'll run it. And so when I did a left join, you notice all the records come in here. So we should have 14, 14. And you'll see why in a second here. Some of them, maybe we have to do a right join. Because you'll see, let's see here. Like for example, this one came in, but came in blank. So I'm thinking, is it left outer join or right join? Let's do right join. All right, that's what I want. Right join instead of left join. It was something like that. So what right join does is it provides some data missing. And this is how we figure out what's missing. So you see here we have 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So if I pull up breweries, why are those missing for? There has to be a problem with the data. So this is why you do a data cleanse and you evaluate what's missing. Okay, so when we do a comparison, we have 21st Amendment, fine. But here, it doesn't take this value number here, 3, address number 1. So there's some type of error message. It could be the phone number. It could be a number of different things. So this is why you do a join so that you could go through. Now I'm not going to go through and evaluate what's wrong with all this data. That's not the whole purpose of this, but showing you why it's important to do stuff like this. It shows you why there could be problems. So you see now from this aspect why I wasn't able to add all the data. There's some type of error messages from here, and it's just a comparison going back and forth with the data. This could be an exercise that we'll do in next module. When we get into the querying stuff, we can evaluate why this didn't work and take it to the next level. But for right now, I'm fine with having some data in breweries. Let's go ahead and put some data in the beers was having a problem, so not sure what happened there. We'll go back to that. So let's do location, and that was this guy right here. All right, so we got records there. So we have records and categories, breweries. The only thing that we don't have is beers because it was giving us some type of problem. So let's get and do an import wizard. And let's choose beers. All right, so something is funky in there. So why is beers giving us a problem? Okay, here's beers. I don't see anything that looks funky. So let's see. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna uncheck these guys in case. And you know what? It could be that we have this. You know what? Probably what it is the category and the style. Since we have a relationship built between those two tables, it might be causing the problem because we have to add the data in the category first, add the data in style first, but it should match because we already have that data. But it also tells us that maybe the data is wrong. Because I could uncheck this, and I don't think this will be a problem. I don't think this is going to solve the problem. I'll show you what has to solve it. So if I import it, beers, you'll see. It should still fail. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take out the relationship. So let's go into alter table. Foreign keys. All right, so we have all these foreign keys for the Breweries Table. So we're just gonna delete these now. We'll go back and we can do them later. I'll show you. Sure, save it. Yep. Not a problem for now. Now we're going to see if it allows us to import it. If not, then that wasn't a problem. Yeah, so there is something else happening here. That wasn't the problem with the list. Huh. Alright, let's do staging. I'll just call it stage. Let's see if that works. Okay, so this tells me it's the CSV file. Something's wrong with the file. It has to be recreated before I could do it for some reason. I'm not sure. So we thought that maybe it was the other table, but it's not. Let's see here. What could be wrong with this table? Let's make sure it's saved as a CSV. It is. So let's create a new table. And what we'll do is we'll just copy some of the data just to see what happens. Okay, and we will, okay, that's just because there's a description there. So let's save this as beers2.csv, and we'll choose common, delimit it. Where is it? There we go. We will see if this works. Alright, so there's something that's not right. It could be it makes me think that it's the table itself. So let's alter the table and see what's missing here. So did I mess up? So we have ID, brewery ID. So let's see if this IDs are characters base. So it could be something like that. Let's do a let's see here. Oops. I want to do a filter. I want to see if there's anything that's not a number, non-numeric in here. And everything looks fine. Alright, name is category ID. Okay, so this might be the problem because we have these negative numbers and it might be picking that up as a problem. So, and this will not allow us to connect the tables together either. So here's the problem. So this is a good example. The data needs to be fixed. So this is what we're going to do here. This is our problem. All right. So I went and removed all those relationships. Great. Oh, geez. All right. All right. So we find anything that matches -1 and put a 1 there. Done. And we'll do the same thing with 2 because we know that we have so many categories. Look at that. 3. This is an example of bad data being provided over. So let's copy out of that real quick and do a search to see if we have, okay, so now everything I think looks better. Let's look at style. Looks good. ABV looks good. 99%, that sounds awful. Alright, I think we're good now. I think this is what we need to do. I'd have to go back and build relationships, but right now I'm not too concerned about that. So let's go back here. Let's do an import wizard. Let's choose beers again. Next. Next. Alright, so something is not right. So, Alright, so I'm gonna have to take this one offline, but for the most part, this environment this is just an example to show you, but you can see problems do happen. I'll take this offline and I'll figure out why this is happening, and I'll let you guys know next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.